was available during the time we were growing and maturing. Okay? And that's mainly because our limits have been expanded. What was previously perhaps Malaysia, maybe it's the region surrounding us, is now the world. Okay? The technology now allows for that. So, no, I would actually say no. There's nothing that's stopping you as a young person here today because there are no opportunities. There are more opportunities today. The problem, the real problem is recognizing those opportunities. Okay? Because sometimes it could be staring you in the face and you didn't even realize that until it's passed by. Gone already. So what does it take to recognize those opportunities? Because the next question you ask me is, how do I recognize opportunities? It's in the staring of my face, I can see. It's actually to read more, be more aware of what's going on around you, be aware of technology, because the way things are changing now, every 2 years the computer is already obsolete already. By the way, this PETRONAS Twin Towers, the security systems when we first designed it was still digital, and this is 1995. By the time we built it, it was out of date. And we basically scrap the whole thing all over again. So now I'm now clever lah. When I do buildings, don't do the IT system until about the last 6 months of the job. So then you take advantage of the latest technologies. But no, this is true. Okay? And there's so many things that happens now. If you're not aware, you will lose those opportunities. So my encouragement is read. And I don't mean just and by the way, blogging and all that stuff very good for your generation. My age, I still haven't got a Facebook account. Of course, my kids say, please don't get one because they want me to go to their Facebook. But my excuse is no time. But the point is, you who are now at your fingertips, these opportunities will actually be there. But you just need to number one is read more. Don't go into just the social stuff. Go read stuff. And remember, and I mentioned this now, we never learn from history. A lot of lessons and opportunities are actually in those histories. Okay? But you just need to understand more. So, be aware, watch, look, listen. Not very difficult stuff to do. And eventually you'll see it. Right? And it could be a simple thing as that restaurant is closing down. Maybe I should take it over. But what do I need to do to make sure that I can do it? Must have some experience, must have some knowledge. So how do I do this? How do I get experience? How do I get knowledge? I don't know. I'm just saying, telling myself, go be a waiter somewhere. Don't lepak. But because you learn, even if it's just earning a few ringgit an hour, it's not so much the salary, but it's the experience and the learning that you get. By the way, one thing I didn't mention, I'm actually a classical pianist by training. So I used to spend my days. By the way, I used to play in Arlida lobbies. Take requests from dirty old men. you get more money by tips, by the way. So things like that. You seek opportunities. And what did I learn playing? What did I learn at playing piano in the lobbies of hotels? I learned a lot of old songs. But you also watch people. People come and what they do, even how they live. I learned a lot about what I think hotels should be run by playing in the bar in the lobby. So now when I run hotels and when I go into projects about hotels, I take on that experience. But the point is opportunity. Yes? But as I say, watch, learn, and every single thing you do is a learning experience. Only if you're, and the thing is, if you do it consciously, it becomes a useful lesson. If you don't do it consciously, it just becomes an experience that, it's not very benefiting. So I think it's important for a good CEO to have a vision. Sometimes the vision is given to you anyway, so your boss says, do this. Okay, but I think it's also important to be empathic to young people. And when I say empathy, not just like, I understand, you must actually be there. You must have experience, you must have knowledge, because whilst it's very easy to go and scold people, why do you do this, right? You must know how to do it. So it's very easy to try and be the boss, but it's not easy to do. So if you don't know how to do, very difficult to be the boss. And I say this because I've seen young CEOs, some of you who are maybe in the room, who go into corporations either because their father owns it, or by some stroke of luck they ended up becoming a CEO at a very young age, but never understand the business. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you must have the experience, but you must desire to learn and understand it before you try to lead it. Okay? And then finally, it's just to recognize and respect people that work for you. Because if you don't respect them, you cannot lead them. Yeah? I mean, and don't expect respect to come back to you. It's you've got to earn it. So don't think that it's your birthright. Because I'm the CEO, you have to respect it. It doesn't happen. You actually got to earn it. And I think you earn it by showing that you care for the people that work for you, you understand, and although you are a hard taskmaster, you will look out for their interests. Okay? So it's important to build that relationship with people. Yes, I'm sure you're dying to follow up the question. Yes.
In continuity to Aiman's question to you, what do you think differs you from other CEO?
I'm a woman. I'm not a typical CEO, by the way. I don't think I'm a typical CEO only because I'm juggle too much. I've had many bosses and I've had CEOs in my checkered career. And I've seen also people running companies and some of them running them down. I won't mention names. But again, what makes me different, I think, is because I try to learn from everything I see. I don't necessarily mean that I become a better person because of it, but I think the point is you start with the intention to want to learn. And I start with thinking that everybody can teach me something. My son just gave me a lesson several months ago, and he knows what I'm talking about. But it's something that you sometimes forget, and sometimes it's very basic. But I think what's important, and what differs me from other CEOs are perhaps the fact that I'm actually willing to learn from my staff and my subordinates. What else set me apart? I don't think I'm that so untypical. Perhaps you just probably haven't met people that talk, very brilliantly before. But my staff know that I do this. But I think, as I said, what's important is listen and learn. And listen and learn doesn't necessarily mean that you only listen to the bosses and the leaders. You also listen to the subordinates. By the way, some of the last lessons I learned were from my technicians. Yeah.
Sounds very much like a Japanese that they learn from each other.
Oh, you must remember. They must remember that you're your boss, okay? That's true. I mean, I think listening is not difficult. The problem is we all think it's easy to do, but it's actually you've got to work at it. Yeah. A lot of people listen, but they don't hear. Yeah. So you listen and hear out. You actually listen, so you can actually make sense of what they're saying and see how that impacts their lives and then our lives and then the company. Sorry,
how do you deal with the immense pressure that you have because you're doing the mega projects, right? So how do you deal with the pressure?
See, the reason I brought my son to the room is so that I can be honest. Okay, pressure can be a good thing. It can motivate. Okay, but you got to manage pressure. I think if you live without pressure, you tend to sort of coast, and that's not good either. And when you want to do this kind of initiatives, this kind of projects, and these very lofty goals, you actually have to have some pressure. I think I manage it by number one, concentrating on not making it bigger than what it is. Because sometimes we get overwhelmed. Sometimes we think that it's so important. If I don't do this, the world will come to an end. I mean, I realized quite some time ago that even if I don't do it, it's not going to come to an end. You get scolding lah. The boss will call you up enough to win. But the world will come to an end. So, but if there are certain things that you must do, and those are the ones that should be the ones that take priority, and then I'm going to spend a bit of time talking about work-life balance, because to manage pressure is also one way of managing pressure is make sure that you have a proper work-life balance. Now, I'm not saying I do this well. This is certainly something that I certainly want to espouse to those of you who do want to go into a very stressful job. So remember to manage your life, and your life means your family, your friends, your life outside the office. Don't make that all in the order.